Yes. So what is planning, or why do we plan, or why is it necessary to plan? I think everybody is muted, so we,
Hello, I'm Noor.
yes,
Hello, I'm Noor. I like to
yes,
speak about planning.
yes,
Uh, I I obviously think that planning is essential for the ongoing course, so that the students will get better idea what we are going to do, and we plan according to the student's strength. Also, we plan according to the level of the students, so it becomes easy for us to handle the things.
yeah, very good. So as an individual, we all plan. It's, and planning becomes a basis for any step or any decision that we take. So whether it is to respect to what do we do today, or what are we going to do tomorrow, or which is our priority, and what things can be moved away a little bit later, is something that we are talking about planning. So when it comes to planning, it becomes the basic crux for any decision making that we do. When, as a teacher, the onus becomes more on us, because we have to plan for our students. Now if we are planning for our students, then we have to remember certain things, that we have to, our planning should be driven by certain things. So here I will focus on our planning to be driven by the WH questions. We all know about our WH questions, but I'll still put it up here. I've just put up a small board kind of a thing, so that we'll be able to interact. Finally, a teacher and a talk is very well connected when we have the board. We don't have a blackboard, but we anyways have something on the whiteboard. So I will just put up the WH questions that we really focus on when it comes to planning. So our WH questions: what, when, where, why, who, how. Yeah, we have this. I'm not sure, is it visible? Is the
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, it's visible, visible.
Yeah. So we have these questions, that is what, when, where, why, who, and how. Now, these are the basic questions that we need to understand when it comes to our planning for a lesson. Now, when we talk about the word what comes to our mind? It just focuses that what are we planning to teach? What is it that I'm going to teach? Okay, am I going to teach this content, or am I going to focus on this content, or what is it that I'm going to teach? I need to also add this whom. So I'll start with what stands for, what is the content that I'm going to teach? What is it that I am going to deliver in the class today? What is it that I'm going to teach my students today? So I have in my mind the question of what. We all have our content. We don't go unplanned. We know what we are going to teach in the class. We don't stand out and say, I don't know what I'm going to teach in the class. We are always ready, and we are prepared with our content that we are going to teach in the class. Then comes the question of when. When are we going to teach this? Are we going to teach in this period, or are we going to teach it in this period, or are we going to teach at this particular time? The period not only stands for the timetable period, but the duration, or the month, or the week, or the that part of the semester. When am I going to teach? Suppose if I'm going to teach a lesson on festivals, then I would probably teach at a time when there are a lot of festivals coming through. Suppose if I'm teaching something about the climates and the seasons, and it suppose happens to be on the rainy season, then I probably teach during that time. So there's a lot of planning that I also do to understand when am I going to teach. I'll go in further to it later. Where am I teaching? Am I going to teach them in the classroom? Am I going to teach them sometimes in the playground? Am I going to teach them in an AV room? Am I going to teach them in the PT room? Where am I going to teach? Is another question that you have to, because the place that you are going to teach makes a lot of difference in your planning. Why am I teaching? The reason, the main purpose is why. Why am I teaching this? Is it because that I have to complete my portion, so I'm going to teach this? Or is it that I'm going to teach this because by learning this, my children are going to have a different experience? Or by learning this, they are going to be aware of something more? So why am I teaching is the biggest question that a teacher needs to have. Who? Who is going to teach? Are you going to teach, or are you telling somebody else to teach, or are you going to be the role of a guide by the side? Are you going to be standing there and make the children do a skit or a drama, and then make the content walk through like that? Who is going to be the role of a teacher there? Who is going to teach? How are you going to teach? Are you going to play a game? Are you going to play, just have a discussion? Are you going to do a lecture? Are you going to do an activity? Or are you going to give some sessions, or call somebody else? Or are you going to create something, maybe a project? How is the question. How are you going to teach that content? And whom are you going to teach? When I asked the question of planning, there was a gentleman who said that we are going to teach the students and understand the level of the students. Yes, very important is to understand the level of the students to whom we are teaching. We at times forget the aspect that because the content may be so driven, it across in a very systematic manner. Fifth or ninth or 10th grade, whatever grade 5th A, or it will be standard 10th B, whatever grade, you will have to differentiate your instruction based on the group that you have. We all model and replicate in classes and classes and classes. No, there are children with different needs, there are children with different learning styles, and we have to mold ourselves to this learning styles. And hence we have to understand that any teacher or any successful learning can only happen if we are able to answer these WH questions, which lead us to moving ahead and learning better. Now I would like to do a small demo lesson. And when I'm doing the demo lesson, I want you all to keep answering to the questions that I ask, as well as jot down the things that you find it focusing on with respect to the WH questions. So we have this here, and you now observe me in the demo lesson. I may falter at times, but even that faltering could be pointed out because it will be a learning process for me and for both of us. Okay, so is my board clear? Because I'll be doing certain things here. Is that fine with you all? If it is fine, just do a thumbs up. I can see you all, and yeah, okay, that's fine. So we are here for the demo lesson today. As I told you, I'll be just doing a very small demo. You all can look into the demo, and then you all can just move through. I'll just move my screen to a 1 minute. Yes. Okay. So good evening, each one of you. Welcome to the class. So how are you all doing? I hope you all are taking enough care and taking good care of yourself and your family. So today we are going to learn something very important, which is very important for you in your daily life and as you move ahead. I will show you a few things. If you know the answer, please raise your hand. Since we cannot raise our hand, you can just unmute yourself and give me the response. Okay. These are few things that we are using these days. Okay. Can you see this? So what is this? What is this?
Gloves.
Gloves.
Gloves. Okay. Okay.
Hand gloves.
Can somebody tell me
Hand
one use of this glove? Why do we use gloves?
For
Why
protection.
do you?
While, op- while operating.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, while operating. Very good. Okay. What is this?
Face mask.
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 Face mask.
Why are we using this mask now?
Again,
Yes.
for protection.
Protect from corona.
From corona. Yes. What is this?
Sanitizer.
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 What are we doing with it?
We are
Sanitizing our hands.
Sanitizing our hands.
Yeah. So all these things are now used to protect yourself from the present situation of COVID-19 pandemic that is spreading around. So today we are going to learn something very important, that is diseases and precautions in the chapter disease and communicable disease. So So, now I would like to begin with a small story of a incident of a boy. His name is Raju. Now Raju comes to his mom and says that he's having a very bad stomach ache. Raju, who is holding his tummy and coming and crying to his mummy and say, "Mummy, my tummy is hurting or is aching." The moment his mummy heard that, his mummy said, "It must be some kind of things that you ate which is not good." At that time, his dad was there. He said, "Oh, the stomach pain would be because of jaundice." His dadi, his grandmom was there. His grandmom said, "This stomach ache could be diarrhea." And that time, the uncle called up to talk to the father, to talk to his father, and he came to know that Raju is having a stomach ache. So the uncle said, "Oh, it must be some kind of constipation problem." Now, Raju, this stomach ache, he has diarrhea, he has vomiting, he has loose motion, and he is feeling very uncomfortable with it. He cannot move around and he's crying. Now, his mother and his father, parents took him to the hospital, took him to the doctor. When the parents took him to the doctor made him sit and asked him, "What is your problem?" Raju said, "I have a bad stomach ache and I feel like vomiting and I have loose motions too." The doctor diagnosed him, checked him, and after checking him, the doctor said, "Oh," then the doctor checked his pulse too. And then the doctor wrote down certain things and he said, "This is food indigestion." So after that, the doctor gave him some medicines and Raju came back home. Now, when I told you this small episode about Raju, tell me, what is Raju having? What is the problem that Raju was undergoing? What was his kind of problem? What is yeah,
Food indigestion.
food indigestion. But did he come to know the food indigestion before?
No.
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 So people were assuming that he has XYZ problems. So, but when did we get it confirmed? When Raju and his parents went to the doctor diagnosed him. After diagnosing and asking few questions, confirmed that this could be food indigestion. So any kind of discomfort that a person has is called illness. And when this illness is proved by a doctor after examination and after certain questioning, then it becomes disease. So a disease is basically when a person is having some kind of uncomfortable feeling or an illness, and this illness is diagnosed and being verified and proved, then it is termed as a disease. So what are the various diseases that you all have heard of? What could be the various diseases that you are aware of? Or maybe you would have even had as a kid or now. What are the various diseases?
Malaria.
Malaria, yes. Dengue, yes. Yes. Okay.
Jaundice.
Jaundice,
Jaundice.
yes. Very good.
Typhoid.
Very good. Yeah, that's right. So there are,
Cholera.
yeah, yes, correct. So there are two types of diseases that we are going to talk about. The first type that we are going to deal with today or to understand better is called as communicable disease, and the other type is non-communicable disease. Now, so we have two kinds of diseases. One is communicable disease and the other one is non-communicable disease. So communicable diseases are those diseases, by the word itself we will be able to guess, are those diseases which are communicable. That is, you can communicate. It moves from one place to another. Now, sometime earlier, I was going on talking with you. But suddenly, so there was a communication happening between both of us. I mean, the entire group and we. I were having a communication. But what happened? Suddenly, my internet dropped and I was unable to communicate. So the session got, paused for a moment. Likewise, the same way, this communicable disease are those diseases which can be communicated with to the other person. That means it can be spread to the other person. So now we have to understand, if there are diseases which can be communicated, how are we going to take care of the disease? Now, today's disease that we are talking about, which is communicable, is the COVID-19 disease or COVID-19 that we are focusing on. Now, can you tell me about the disease of COVID-19? What does COVID-19 stand for? Or how did you know about COVID-19? Or why are we talking about COVID-19? What is COVID-19?
It's contagious.
It is
Spreads
contagious.
very fast.
Okay, very
Spreads
good.
very fast.
I think, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So it is contagious and it spreads. Now, when we are talking about COVID-19, we spoke about the gloves, the mask, and we spoke about the sanitizer. Now, when this disease, WHO, the World Health Organization, when it gave us certain rules for the disease COVID-19, they told that COVID-19 is a disease that spreads through coughing, sneezing, and touching of a person or being close contact with a person who has this disease. Now, so as a person, you have to safeguard yourself, and that is why we have all these things to safeguard ourselves from this disease. This disease, when it remains in the surface for a long period of time and it keeps multiplying faster, and hence precautionary measures have to be taken. So as an individual, it is your responsibility to take care of yourself and your family by taking necessary precautions against this disease. So how will you take? What are the things that you will do? One is, you will always use a sanitizer, you will wear a mask, you will use gloves, you will wash your hands frequently, and you will stay indoors, stay at home, and stay safe. When you practice this, you will not only protect yourself, but also your society and your neighborhood. So today we have learned about disease and communicable disease. In communicable disease, we have learned about COVID-19 pandemic, which is there, and how we have to take care, and what is our moral responsibility as a citizen to take care of ourselves and of the country. So now I want you to write down what is there on the board. Okay, and please close your notebook. Now I'll ask you few questions. What is a disease? What is a disease? Yes.
If any person has an illness and it is confirmed, diagnosed,
Yes.
and proved
Very
by
good.
the doctor, then it is
Good.
called as a
Very
disease.
nice. Very nice. Okay. Now give me one precautionary step to be taken when for the disease COVID-19. One precautionary step.
Wearing
Sanitizer,
of mask.
Yes. Very good. Yes.
usage of sanitizer,
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Washing hands
Hand
frequently.
gloves,
Yes. Very good.
social distancing.
social
Very good.
distance.
Very good. So, for your homework, you will go home and write a nice little slogan about being safe, staying safe during COVID. Okay. Thank you so much. Now, this is the way we would do, the demo lesson was done. Now, since the demo is done, now I would ask you, what are the things that you observed during the demo?
Actions while you were explaining.
Okay. Yeah.
Use of
Further?
realia. You used gloves. You showed us gloves, then
Yeah.
sanitizer
So
and
we use,
mask.
yeah, so we use teaching aids.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Repetition of things.
yeah, repetition.
Repetition.
Yes, then
Feedback and involvement.
feedback and involvement. Okay, involvement of class. So here, when you are telling me this, you are also focusing on the WH questions that we had. So my, if I have to look at my lesson, I will look into it with the WH questions. What I was teaching diseases. Whom I was teaching? I was teaching a class of standard 7. Why did I teach? Because I wanted to teach them, it's a part of their syllabus, as well as I wanted to teach them to understand the necessary precautions that they have to take, which is used in their life today. It's a reality for them. So they have to, so why I taught was also, for whom, again, for the batch of students, why is the same, where I taught it in the classroom. Now for me, my classroom is this home space and you all in front of me, in front of the screen. That's my classroom. But then we had an interaction. And when did I teach? At this point of time, when it's evening or being at home, and at a time when this disease is really going so viral, and we are going to understand this disease deeply. So this is how your lessons have also to be when we are talking with respect to teaching. So when we are teaching, we are going to understand the WH questions with the simple mnemonic called as idea. Okay, now what is an idea? It's wow. ऐसा कुछ, it's like something that just pops up your mind and say, oh wow, that may work. So like that, the entire lesson planning can be coined in a simple terminology called as idea. That is IDEA. I will tell you what idea stands for. Also, since we have finished this lesson, if you saw that before I finished my, before I asked you all questions, I did rub the board so that I made an attempt that people are not looking into the board and answering when I ask them questions. And I also made it a point to ask them to copy from the board, because we can't just have a lesson and say that, okay, it's done, but they need to take back something when they're going. So we have also made them write. What I'm doing with you right now is actually wrong. I'm not supposed to do the board and talk to you simultaneously or face my back, which is a wrong practice. But to just ease of time, I'm just doing it. Okay, so the entire process of the word lesson planning can be boiled down to a terminology called as idea. That is IDE and A. Now, stands for you are identifying the need. There is a need that you need to identify, and you are now going to identify this need. So I is identify the need. D stands for design and planning. E stands for effective delivery, and A stands for assessment and evaluation. Now, the entire terminology of IDEA is IDEA, which means that you're going to understand the terms identifying the need. Now, we started with our entire session is planning. Your idea starts with the need to plan something or the need to require for planning something. Why are you going to teach? That's your biggest question. So when you are talking about the need, there are two things that you are going to be focused on. One is your goals and objectives and your learning outcomes. Now, what is a goal and objective and what is a learning outcome? Now, if I go to a class and ask a student, what do you want to become? And the child answers, I want to become a doctor. Then I will ask the student, so what are you doing to become a doctor? And the child replies that I am studying very hard. Now tell me, what is a goal and what is the learning outcome? Which is a goal?
Being a doctor.
What is the goal? That the goal is being a doctor, yes. And the learning outcome is
Working hard.
Taken by him, yeah.
correct. It's working hard. So it means that to become a doctor, this child is going to take efforts every day and learn every day very hard so that he or she achieves the goal, that is to become a doctor. So every time when you plan for something, okay, when there is a need, there has to be two things that you have to keep in mind. One is your broad goal, the biggest goal that you have, the biggest goal that you need to achieve. Now, as a teacher of class 5 or as a maths teacher of class 5, my entire syllabus that I am supposed to teach to the child in that year is my broad goal, is my big goal that I have to achieve in 1 year. And every chapter that I go and teach them step by step, teach them very nicely, they are my learning outcomes or short goals. So when I am planning for my teaching in the class, I have to go to the first part is the need is identify which is the broad goal and which is my learning outcome or which is my short goal first. Now the second thing is, when you are going to IDEA, you have to ask certain questions. Your questions will be, first, what are your goals? So here we said, what is your goal? The big or the small, the broad and the learning outcome. Second, what is your learning outcome? So first one is your broad goal. Second one is, what is your learning outcome? The third one is, what difference will you make to the child after teaching this lesson? If I teach you about COVID-19 today, and if you are going to remain the same with little bit of knowledge what you had, or you have no knowledge before and even after the lesson, if you are at the same knowledge, then my teaching in the class has not done any impact. So what difference are you going to make in the class after teaching this lesson? That's your objective. That is the need that you have to identify. The fourth one is, why a child should learn this. Is there something that is important to learn in this class? Like I always give an example. There was a time when computers were introduced and we had something to save as an external device. You remember the floppy drive? You remember? There was a floppy drive. So the computers, the CPU had a place where you could insert the floppy drive. Now today it has been replaced. Then it was replaced by CD and then it was replaced by our pen drives. But even today, if I go to the class and teach my children floppy drive, is it going to be anything important for them? Nahi, kuch bhi fayda nahi hai. It's not important at all. So my teaching should be such that after I teach, the student should be able to use it in the class, should be able to use it in the society, should be able to use it, make a difference in his learning. So क्यों important है? Why is it important is the next question. And then, why are you teaching this child? Why are you teaching something? Because not because of just completion of portion, you're teaching because you are wanting to make the child aware of the entire topic. So if you are going to do that, then there are certain things you will have to plan to find out if the child has learned. Now, that is called as specifications, or that is called as learning outcomes. Now, if I have taught everyone, how will I come to know that my child has learned? For that, I have to specify that after teaching this topic, the child will be able to give one example of dash. The child will be able to explain dash. The child will be able to pick out dash. The child will be able to differentiate between two things. The child will be able to list few things. When your child is able to do all these things, that time you will realize, yes, your learning outcome is achieved. Because by doing this, your child in the class is able to do certain things. When you will find out through an assessment, through an evaluation, or through questioning, you will find out that your child is able to do this. That is when your need to teach that topic, your need to teach them that your why, what question, it will be answered. So the most important thing is, when you frame your lesson plan, the first thing is plan your learning outcomes. Decide for once what you want the child to achieve by the end of it. Now, when I say that, there are some children who may be very smart, there are some children who may be not very smart, or may be feeling shy to come up with. So you have to frame your learning outcomes in such a way that it is not for one child, but you are going to do it for the entire group of students are going to achieve this. So you are going to frame your things like that. That is why when we make a question paper also, we don't make a very difficult paper, or we don't make a very simple paper. We make a balanced paper. And why this balance is coming is because this balance will tell us who are the ones who need more support, and there are some children who can be given some extra questions, that so that the brighter ones who can be given hot questions or higher order questions. So that is why the learning outcomes should be well framed. Okay, any questions in this? Do you wish to ask any questions here, or can we move ahead? Is there any question?
No questions, sir.
There are two things of no questions. Either you have understood or you have not understood. Okay, we move ahead. The next thing is D. That is design and planning. What do you understand by the design and planning? Designing is, you are going to, when you talk basically about designing, it is just that all the things that you have planned in your mind, you are going to place it in a proper space. Like it could be a simple thing like, you are going to you go to your house, you know exactly where the TV has to be, where the sofa has to be, where the dining table has to be, where this has to be. You have planned and you have designed your space like that. The same way in your classroom, how your things have to be designed by you. You are the person, you are the creator, you are the maker, you are the producer, you are the main person. And that is why the entire role, the entire responsibility is with you to design. So when you are designing, what are the things that you will keep in mind? First is your questions back again. One is, what are you teaching? Because when you are designing, you have to plan what are you teaching. Now, if you ask me, today we were learning about COVID-19 and all this. I could have just asked you, tell me certain things that you are using today because of COVID-19. You would have given me a response. But there was another way of doing it, was showing you certain things. So your teaching should be planned in what you are going to teach, and associate, the planning should associate like that. So first is, what are you teaching? Second, what you want them to learn. Now there's a difference between that. What you teach and what you want them to learn is the difference. I may be teaching this, but I want my children to learn this in a different manner. See, like as a teacher, I may, as an adult or as a teacher, we have big knowledge, we have more knowledge than what is required. But our children are coming like a blank slate in front of you at that point of time when you're teaching a new lesson. So you want only specific things to be taught to them so that they are not confused with too many things. So you are going to plan exactly what you want them to learn. So in my teaching, I may talk about too many things. I may, like my COVID, I spoke about WHO told this and this and this and this. But specifically what I wanted them to learn, precautionary measures. Specifically, that was what. So I have to understand there are two things. In my teaching, I may be a little bit elaborate, but what I want them to be learning is very focused. Okay. The third thing is, who is your group of students? We started our entire session by a gentleman saying that we are going to understand this or teach them with the aspect of what is a student community, what is the age group of this community. And that's why we have to really understand if my child is of 10 years or my 11 years or 12 years, I have to teach them that. Suppose if I'm going to the class and I have to teach them about, fruits or about vegetables, okay, so, or leaves. So I just show them this leaf and I say, okay, tell me this. So if the same thing, I cannot do it in different classes, like even grade 1, I cannot show this, and in grade, maybe in higher grades, I cannot show and ask, what is this? So maybe the type of questions, the kind of questions should vary. So I should understand whom I'm teaching and what I'm teaching them and who are the group of students that I'm teaching. The next is, when is your period? When is your lecture going to happen, or when is your session going to happen? I'll tell you why it is important. I'll come back to it later. But when is it going to happen? That is the next question. And where are you going to teach them? Which place? Why I have told you is I'm going back in detail. So when you're planning this, you're going to understand it in in different ways. So like if I have to, if you have to teach them about seasons, okay, and basically you're talking about different seasons, then you can associate that seasons with the different types of clothes you wear, what happens in that season, what you like to do in the season. In a rainy season, what do you like to do? What do you wear in the rainy season? In summers, what type of clothes you wear? What do you like to drink? What do you like? You like to eat an ice cream, or you like to drink cold water? In a winter season, what happens? So you are going to create a discussion like that. Suppose if I'm going to teach them about, I was just thinking about plants. So I had got these few plants. So if I'm going to teach them about plants, I will show them different kinds of leaves. And these different kinds of leaves, I will ask them to differentiate. So there are many different kinds of leaves that I've picked up. These leaves will only show, okay, the size, the structure, the feeling, how it is, the shape, how long, whether it is long, whether it is the type of veins, the color. All these things I'm going to explain when I'm teaching them the kind of leaves. If I'm teaching them shapes, and I'm showing them things which are maybe circular, rectangular, kind of in the form of a square, and all these things I'm just trying to tell them. So these are the things that I'm going to show or enact or probably involve them in the learning process. So that is one that is important. So today when we were talking about COVID-19, we were also talking about 10 to 11 years of children, grade 5, grade 6, and then I'm teaching them about that. So I've used various props. Why I said when you're going to teach is important is, suppose if you're going to teach your period, that's your class is going to happen after your break. Okay, it's your break period, and after the break is your class. What happens? Children are slowly coming in one by one, one by one, one by one. So if you have planned an activity or a game or a way of teaching, then what happens is you cannot wait for everybody to come in, because then the time will not be enough. If you start it, then half the class is doing, half the class is not doing. If you start without half the class, then they are very disturbed. All these things keep coming up and down, and that's why your planning of a lesson should be very, very focused when you see when is the time. So sometimes when your period is after PT or after singing or after drawing or after a break, it is a time that they may be from a different place and they are coming back. So people are coming one by one. So you have to plan that at such a time, what kind of teaching method you are going to use. Suppose you are going to teach something and you want to take them to the auditorium, AV room or audiovisual room. Then you have to decide how you are going to teach them and what method of teaching you are using. So every time, when I said the time, the period when you are going to do has to be focused, then only you will be able to plan your activities well for the lesson. So remembering the time when it is going to happen and where it is going to happen decides what activity you will plan for your lesson. So you can, what are the activities that you can plan? One, you can plan a game, a small game you can plan. Okay. Then, I don't know, is my video stuck?
No, it's not stuck. I think Shrikant is by mistake pressed the present now. So Shrikant, you just, he's done it. Okay. Please.
Okay. Yeah. So, so I can plan a game. It can be a small game. It can be a riddle. It can be, that is one way of presenting your lesson. So that also you can plan. So you can do a game. Second, you can do a skit. You can ask few children to present in the form of a skit. So that is another way. Third is your lecture method, where you give your sessions like the way we are having. Fourth, it could be a discussion. You put up a newspaper cutting, or you just put up one quote, or you have quotes in the school that we write it on the blackboard. You put up that quote and you say that, okay, come on, let us today discuss about this quote and how we can connect that quote to our lesson. So it can be a discussion. Then it can be a concept map wherein I show different things and show connectivity. So from one page, like a concept map is, you have a center and from there it branches out to different topics. Then you can do a brainstorming. Like a brainstorming is, if I show this and I ask, or I could show this, if I show this marker, then I can ask, tell me what is the use of this marker. There might be many uses that keep coming in. So brainstorming. Then I can ask questions, inquiry model. I keep asking them questions and then they will answer. It can be a project, that the child makes and presents it in the class. It can be a problem solving. There is a problem given to the child and tell how you will solve this. So they will come up with ideas. It can be an interview. You can ask two people to interview each other and then come up with solution. So these are various methods of, or models, or ways that you can do your lesson. And if you want to do all these through different ways, it should be planned well. And for that, you have to remember the WH questions back again, because if your lesson has to be successful, then it will only happen if this stages. I will give you an example. When I was doing my B.Ed, I had to go to a school for taking a lesson. And I was teaching a wonderful poem, which I really love, is the poem on daffodils. It was in grade 6 that I had to teach that poem. So when I went to the class, I was standing outside the class. It was 5 minutes more for the bell to ring, and then I had to take that lesson. And the time was 11:40, and after that, after my lesson would be the final zero period, and then the winding up. So I kept waiting, and the zero period was very important for them, because they were planning for some activities for their annual day or something like that. So I could not take the zero period, and this period was before that. I waited. I had all my teaching aids in my hand. I had a beautiful daffodil also in my hand, and I was presenting it in a very, very emotional way. I was bringing up the poem. Outside the class, I waited. The bell was to go at 11:40. It never went at 11:40. The bell didn't ring. And there was a senior teacher who was there in the class, and I kept waiting and waiting. And since the bell didn't ring, the teacher also continued. Finally, the bell rang at 12:15. Then the actual bell for the next period should be ringing at 12:20. So the previous period ka lecture got over at 12:15, and I had just 5 minutes to take that big poem of daffodils with all my expressions, with all my teaching aids in the class. And I was really so nervous. I didn't know how I will be able to take it, because it's such a beautiful poem and I wanted to really do it well, but I could not. So my teacher said, you go and do whatever is best for you. And I could only barely teach them the first stanza of the poem, and the bell rang. And I could not take the zero period, so I had to come out. So it happens that many a times you may plan, but it may not work out. but at least when you plan, if you remember these things, you will be able to plan better. And that's why all these things are very important when you're going to planning. So when we go ahead with planning, and then the final thing is how you execute in the class, your effective delivery, that is your E. Your execution is important. I have planned a lot of things, but finally, if I can't do it, it will not work. So how do you execute in the class is the next question. There are few things that you have to remember as teachers, and our students are really particular about this, is how we are in the class. If as a teacher, I keep doing this, and I show them mannerisms, these are certain mannerisms which unknowingly becomes a practice for us. And we have to see that as teachers, when we are doing our execution in the class, we have to avoid certain mannerisms that becomes our habit. So many a times we are unable to move ahead, or we are doing something unknowingly. So to avoid that, it is important that we avoid certain mannerisms. First, that's the first thing, avoid mannerism. Second is maintain an eye-to-eye contact. Now I am here today, we are not in a physical space, but we are in a virtual space, but I'm trying to look into each one of you who has kept their videos on, to see how is it going with you. So I'm trying to maintain an eye-to-eye contact with you. I do understand with your non-verbal cues that you are giving. What is a non-verbal cue? You're nodding, or you are looking here, or you are doing. That is your non-verbal cues that you are giving me a response that yes, I am listening to you. So that's the same way as a teacher, when you are your effective delivery will only happen, one, when you avoid mannerisms. Second, you maintain an eye-to-eye contact with your students. So many a times what happens is when our B.Ed students go for lessons, they are a little bit scared. So we have something called as, we have to go and observe and supervise their lessons. And many times they're very scared, and they only focus on the first few benches. And the questions are also only asked for the first few benches. So we tell them, no, reach out to the class, reach out, go, move ahead, see what is that person doing even in the last bench. The same way, probably as a teacher in the class, we'll be able to have a good contact with them, because we are able to reach out and figure out what is happening. So that's the next thing, that is eye-to-eye contact. Then is subject mastery. Many a times it could happen that when we have planned a lesson well, we may falter at times, or we may forget, or there might be a very smart child who has asked a very smart question and which is not related, and you may not know about it. So you can always say that I'll get back to you later. At the same time, hold a very strong mastery of your content. Our content is not the textbook, but deeper to that. So probably if we can do a little bit research work before we go to the class, read one or two websites or one or two other books, which also gives us more information, that gives a very strong on us as teachers. Then is activity that you plan. How do you plan the activity? How many students are going to be involved? What is the game? See, we play games, and only few of them are given opportunities. The others feel sidelined. So plan a game where most of them are involved. If others are not involved, then plan something else for them that they can be involved. So it can be a small quiz round, row-wise quiz or something like that, that will help them. Then maintain a sequence. After one, the next. After one, the next. So I had a teacher in my college days, the whole board would be full. Okay, so the teacher would start from one corner of the board and it would go up till the other corner, and from down, the full board was filled. And she would go on talking, writing down the points. So she will move, the next point would be here, then she would come back, the next point would be here. So we had to really look through the board to understand the sequence. So like that, the children who are at times who are not paying attention to you full 35 minutes, because the attention span of any person is just 5 to 7 minutes at a time. And there are various children having different attention span. So if they are not, they should at least know what is the sequence that you are talking about. So maintain a sequence, only then you will be able to maintain a connect. Then is you are asking questions. Keep asking questions to them, because that will make them keep involved. If you don't ask questions, then the lesson is very passive, and when the lesson is passive, children are tend to, or instigated, or they are pushed to do something which is of their own. They then disconnect with you. So keep asking questions. There is always a chance that you may ask a question to the child, and so the child has to be alert. The next is feedback. Keep giving them feedback when they are answering. Say, very good, that's a good point, that's a valid point, good, but it needs some more addition. Can somebody add some more points? If the other person is adding points, reinforce that. Say that, okay, that's also good, but I think it is not connected to this point. Maybe this will be having a different answer to it. So you can do it in that fashion. Then reinforce, like I was reinforcing. Let's reinforce, repeat it at a time, so that the learning becomes more permanent. Then you'll remain focused. When you are teaching a point, if somebody says, I'm teaching COVID, and somebody says, madam, in my building that man got COVID and then he went to tuck, that the story has gone to some other place. You need not go to their house and their family's house and all those things. Come back. That is an unrelated topic. You said, oh, that's okay, that's a very sad part, I think we will get back to you later. Bring it back, because children have a tendency to go off track. They will tell you 100 things. If you ask them, they will tell you 100 things. So you need to come back and say, no, let's be focused, we're doing this now. Then you will avoid unnecessary comments or talks, which will again take your lesson to a different topic. Sometimes I keep telling that there are questions that we ask, okay, can you suggest this, or can you give your opinion on this? What happens when you do such thing? 100 students or 10 students or 50 students in your class have 50 opinions. It will be difficult to catch up. So such questions you can ask in the form of pacing it out. Like if you want to ask questions like what is your opinion on this, then you can say that it can be a question in your written paper. Okay, give a question or give a title and suggest your opinion on this, rather than in a classroom situation. If you ask what is your opinion, then again the class goes haywire, it just moves out. So when I'm telling you, your focus is, first is avoid mannerisms, eye to eye contact, keep focused, be online, don't get deviated. Subject mastery is very important. Then it is activity that you plan has to be focused. Whatever activities that you're planning, it has to meet to all, either involve all students, or only if some students are involved, then get the others in the by asking questions. Give them remarks in the form of positive enforcement, positive feedback, and if the children are going in a different direction, bring them back to the content that you're teaching. Time management is very important. Manage your time. You should know how much time I will spend in the introduction, how much time I'm going to spend in teaching the topic, how much time I'm going to spend in this activity, how much time I'm going to spend in evaluation. So your introduction should be somewhere which is only taking your 5 minutes total, whereas your entire teaching, which involves activity and other, should take around 25 minutes. And your evaluation back again another 5 minutes. So if you take it, it's almost like 30 minutes. You may have +5 or -5, which happens in the coming and settling down, but your major aspect should move around this time. Because if your introduction goes beyond, then your lesson content goes lesser. So when you are planning, time management also has to be focused. And when I'm talking about introduction, always remember your introduction is always based on the previous knowledge. Your previous knowledge is whatever they knew, and from there you're bringing them to the present context of teaching, which is not known to them. So we always follow the maxim of simple to complex. That is, what is simple, we are taking them to something which is complex. The maxim known to unknown, that is, what is known, we are taking them from the known to the unknown, what is not known. So that is the basic part of our teaching, from simple to complex, from known to unknown. Okay, so when this happens, you are again being understanding it, you're looking at it, time management. And the other thing is, you are not going to be biased when you give them your suggestion. When sometimes you tend to be, you know, saying that, okay, you are a very smart boy, sit down. So the other students may feel, oh, man feels only this boy is smart or this girl is smart. So that is also one aspect that you have to understand when you are doing an effective delivery. Your effective delivery or efficient delivery is when what you planned, that is the first part of your idea, that is idea, the need, what you planned is successfully done in the class, and that's when your effective delivery happens. Any questions? Any questions do we have? Okay, so we'll move on to the next part of idea, that is A, that is assessment and evaluation. So when we are doing everything, in the end, we come to an aspect where we are assessing and evaluation. Now, why is it assessment? Why is assessment needed, or why is evaluation needed? It's like you make something. It's like if I have made dal today, suppose if I have cooked dal and I have just served it to the family, and then my family says, this is not good, इसमें ज़्यादा salt है या इसमें ये बराबर नहीं हुआ है. What is happening? That is my assessment of the dal. The same way is the assessment of your planning and implementation in the class. What you planned and what you are doing in the class, you have to assess, you have to evaluate. So when you are assessing and evaluating, there are two forms that we talk about. One is formative and other one is summative. Now, what is formative? Formative evaluation is something that you are doing it at regular intervals. That is, regularly. You are doing it in a process that every now and then you are doing it, so that you are able to get a better understanding about the child, about the academic achievement that the child is having. So you are doing a formative evaluation. A summative evaluation, the word sum means total. It is the total of all the evaluation that is being done, so that you are going to get a holistic picture. Now, what is this summative evaluation linked to? To the broad goal that you had framed in the beginning of your year, saying that by the end of this year, my student in the class will be able to do this. And all the small tests that you have done will finally help you achieve that broad goal through the summative evaluation, that is small evaluation. Together, the total evaluation will tell you whether you are able to achieve that goal. So when you are doing summative and formative evaluation, there are two things that you have to understand with respect to that. Is you have to ask questions. Now, evaluation is basically about asking questions. You are evaluating by questioning. Now, your questions can be in the form of in many different forms. You can ask a direct question, you can give them an example, or you can ask them to do a project, or you can ask them to, it could be a quiz, it could be a big answer that you are asking them to. So there are many forms of evaluation that you can do. A multiple choice question, a sub-objective question can be asked, many forms of evaluation. So when you are doing in a classroom setup, that is the formative evaluation, that is the learning outcome in evaluation, you are going to ask questions in between to them randomly during the teaching learning process. So when you are teaching and learning, when you are doing the teaching learning process, you are going to ask questions. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, now give me more clarification on that. Can somebody explain this? You are going to ask these kind of questions. Now, when you are asking a question, if the content is not known to the student, you should not pick up and say, yes, you, this boy, please stand up and give me the answer. When the content is not known to them, it is a new content to them, you should not pick up the child. But if there is a question, or if there is a content, if there is a topic which the child knows. Now this is a topic that child knows, gloves. This is a topic that child knows, mask. This is what they know. In that case, you can ask, yes, the boy Raju, please stand up and tell me the answer. Reena, please tell me the answer. Satish, please tell me the answer. Why? Then the child is not, you are not putting a stigma to the child. Otherwise, the child feels, अरे ये question पूछा, मुझे answer नहीं मालूम था, and I feel sorry about it. Then the, तेरे को मालूम नहीं है, and people make fun of. So when the content is known, you can ask the question by picking them through their names. But when the content is not known, something which is new to them, you should put a open question, and whoever knows can answer. Now, after teaching the content, when you are doing an evaluation, that is in the end, when you are finding out the success of your teaching lesson, again, that time you can point out to students and ask them the question. Why? Because they were supposed to pay attention and they were supposed to learn, and that if they are able to answer, then they will match your learning outcome, which said that every pupil in my class will be able to do this. That will be correct. That will happen. Okay. Then I'm just telling you few questions, the form of questions. Then is okay, if somebody answers a question which is partially correct, okay, and it needs to be more added to, then in that case you should ask, can somebody else also answer? When that child also answers, then this child who has done half correct should add this point and present the full answer. That is when the combination of learning really happens. So remember, if somebody has done halfway, then ask the other person to join the answer and give it in the full-fledged form. Then when you say that, did all of you understand what I taught today? If you ask in the class like that, what happens? Everybody will shout and say, yes, teacher. But there is a child who is silently saying, no, teacher, but in the sound of everybody, that is not heard. So don't give a chorus answer. Don't tell ki sab, everybody has understood. They will all say yes. So you have to, for that, you have to ask individually questions little by little here and there. So you can ask questions either by roll number. Randomly, I will pick up all the roll numbers and you answer. Sometimes I will say that today I'm going to ask questions to those people whose names start with R. Or today I'm going to ask those questions to those people who stay in Kurla. Or today I'm going to ask questions to those people who have some specific characteristics you can name. So what happens is they will start knowing their friends also. So again, try to connect these things in a questioning form. What happens in while you connect, there is a social bonding that is created between the friends. There's a social combination that you're creating, that social culture. And so maybe you can ask questions like that. Today I'm going to ask this row the questions. Or today I'm going to ask the fourth row the questions. Or today I'm going to ask in the S pattern or the Z pattern the questions. So something like that. So all are vigilant is what is teacher going to do tomorrow. What form of questions will she ask? So everybody is saying that, okay, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to pay attention. So that's another way. Then you can also build connections. Then questions. What kind of questions you'll ask is, questions should be only connected or related to the content that you have taught. What you have not taught, you should not ask. Like, I have taught today COVID-19. Pandemic was the communicable disease that I taught. I cannot ask them some other communicable disease ka question. I cannot ask that because I did not teach. So today what I have taught, I should focus my questions on that. Okay, second is, you should focus on one question on one topic. You cannot ask questions like, so tell me the precautionary measures and the suggestive operations, and this and this and this. So the student is confused. What are the answers that I'm supposed to give? So ask what are the symptoms should be one question. What are the precautionary measures should be another question. Divide your question so that the child is able to answer it well. Breaking down of questions makes the learning also very easy. The third is, don't ask too many small questions in one question. Avoid that, because then the children are getting confused with too many questions. Okay, then the next is, try to avoid questions which begin from can you or do you. Always can you का मतलब होता है कर सकते हो क्या. So it is like, can you give me an answer for this? And if the student says no, I can't give you, then what will happen? So avoid questions which starts from can you or do you. Do you think this is good? No, I don't think this is good. Then the learning stops there. उसके आगे कुछ बढ़ेगा ही नहीं. So what is it? Why is it? Where is it? Encourage in WH questions. Okay. Then avoid ambiguous questions. Like you can give an example is in chapter 3, the disease that is focused on different symptoms which gives different answers, but on the third paragraph is this. Children are not able to see what is chapter 3, which paragraph, which this. So difficult. So you cannot ask ambiguous questions. You cannot ask questions which are very difficult or out of proportion for the child to answer. We all do not have a photogenic memory. We take time. Some of us really take time. The next is, avoid questions that has answer in it. Delhi is the capital of India, isn't it? Such questions should be avoided because you are prompting the answer inside that only. So such questions also should be avoided. Then you can ask all these, as I told you before, the self-opinion questions should be something that should be focused in your written test, because then they will be able to express this better. Otherwise, it happens that if I say something, my friends will laugh. So such questions should not be asked. What do you think about this? Give your opinion. Such questions will be difficult because the child may either be giving an answer which is not acceptable in the classroom, or the child gives an answer, does not give an answer because he or she is shy in the classroom. So such also questions should be avoided. Then it also avoid asking difficult questions. Very difficult questions, very difficult to answer. Avoid saying that now the next question is for the smartest child in the class. Avoid such questions, because then nobody will say, oh, ye first rank wala hi answer karega, baki sab chup baithega. We will not answer. So you have to also remember, avoid tagging of students when you are asking questions. And there are different levels of questions that you have. That is introductory questions, the developmental questions, and the recap questions. There are 3 types of questions. Introductory questions are those questions which you will ask before the lesson is introduced. Like when I started my lesson on COVID-19, I showed you certain things such as the mask, the gloves, and I asked you, what is this? Apart from asking you, what is this? I also told you, give me one use of this. Such questions are called as introductory questions. Then I said, okay, so today you will learn more about diseases. So I did not talk about mask, I did not talk about gloves, but I spoke about the related concept, that is teaching of diseases through these teaching aids. So my introductory questions are basic level questions which can be asked on the basis of showing certain photos or images or pictures, doing a small skit of 1 minute, then asking questions on that, showing some products, and after everything is done, then you will be able to go on to the next set of questions, that is called as developmental questions, which means your lesson plan questions, which is the teacher is going to teach that lesson through a lot of questions. Why, how, why do you think like that, how we should do, what is it? Such questions are called as developmental questions. And the last is, when I finished my teaching, I rubbed the board and I said, now I'm going to ask you the questions. They are called as my evaluation questions or called as recap questions. Now remember, your introductory, your developmental, and your recap should not be the same. It should never be the same. What you ask, if I ask ye kya hai in the introductory, I cannot ask this in the same question in my recap. It should not be the same. There are 3 different types of questions which has to be dealt in a different form. Okay, so when you do this, then you come up to the idea level where as I started, I said that you will be called as a wow teacher, the best teacher, if you follow the idea and how you go about this. Okay, so before we close, I want to just put down a general lesson plan, not specific to any school or not specific to any board, a general lesson plan that you can make in for yourself planning. So I'll just put up that. So in my general lesson plan, a simple format that I have is, excuse me, is I will have the name, that is I will have my name written, the standard that I am teaching, the date, I have the topic, sorry, I will have the subject first and the topic, okay? This is how I begin. Then the first thing that I am writing is the learning outcome. How do I write my learning outcome? I write my learning outcome as the student will be able to. The student will be able to. Able to do what? 1, 2, 3. You can have 4, 5, 6, any number of times. Okay, the student will be able to write the answer, will be able to explain, will be able to talk, will be able to. Are you able to see the screen well, or it's the flip side?
No, we can see it. We can see it.
The student will be able to do this, will be able to give an example, will be able to give an answer, will be able to write something, write or express their feeling, everything. What you feel, you should be putting down here. Okay. Then the next comes your content. That is the second part. Okay. The first is your this thing. Second is your content. What are the topics that you're going to teach that day, only that day?
You're just missing the screen. So you'll have to bring the camera a little bit down so we can see the board down.
Is it? Okay.
Going up, you have to go down.
Yeah, is it?
Okay.
Okay. So the second is the content that you're teaching. So today I was teaching on disease as one content, and inside that I was teaching communicable disease, and in communicable disease I was teaching COVID-19. So that has to be specified in my content. Okay. The third is your explanation. How are you going to teach the students? How are you going to explain? Either through a game or through questions or through activity, whatever it is. Write in a small paragraph, and preferably, if you can, please write the questions also that you will ask. It really becomes easy. Today when I'm talking to you also, I have prepared my notes, because that helps me to be more structured. I am going to be in that, and slowly I will be, we'll be able to master it. But if you can write how you are planning to explain, what are you going to do, what teaching aid you are going to use, what questions you are going to ask, how are you going to ask, and how many, what are different ways that you're going to adopt, should be written here. Then is your fifth one is your blackboard, sorry, your fourth one is your question answer. As I told you, in your explanation, if you can, the third and the fourth, you please write your questions that you are going to ask in the class and the response that you expect. Suppose if I ask in my class, what is COVID-19? Then people should only give me an answer about COVID-19, not about jaundice. So my question should be very specific to ask, and response also should be that specific. Nahi to your lesson will go haywire. Again, it will go out of the box. The fifth one is your blackboard. What you are going to write in the blackboard. However effective your lesson is, please try and put things on your blackboard or your board or something that the child is able to write and connect it back. Because at a time you may even flip through the pages and see, "Arey, ye to kiya tha, this I know." So please get something to be written, make the child write. A very, very important. Don't make the child to just sit quietly and listen the lesson. They will not pay attention. After some time, they will go off track. So make them write, and that will improve them in their formation of their writing skills and also formation of their being connected to the lesson. The sixth one is your evaluation. Can I just put the sixth here? Is evaluation. You are evaluating the child through questions. And the seventh one is your homework. Your homework does not mean you give a lot of homework. Your homework can be a simple thing like, today what was the homework that I gave you all for my lesson on COVID-19? What was the homework?
Write a slogan.
It was a slogan.
Yes.
Slogan, to write a slogan.
Very good. So a simple thing as writing a slogan can be your homework. So such things when you do, a small homework will also make them do it. Build a practice of getting back to them to do things regularly. Nahi to they will feel that this subject I never get homework. I never have to do anything. I just have to listen in the class, close my book and keep it away. No. Bring them to the back to the writing work, reinforcement, and if you give something, follow it up the next day, because then only they will understand that this teacher is going to keep a check on me. So when you have done that, then the entire process of a wow teacher, of the planning of a very good lesson really goes through very systematically and very smoothly. I hope I have covered a couple of things. If there is anything that you all need to ask, you all can freely ask. I'm here. Otherwise, my session, what I wanted to convey is kind of done.
We would like to see you. You said you had prepared for this. So can we see what you had prepared?
Okay, I will show. So I'm a person who likes to write. So I had written a lot of stuff, and whatever I have spoken to you, I have written everything, so that I know that how I'm going through my entire topic. And that's how I generally do it, and I like that. And I feel that goes more systematic with me, and it helps me to plan myself better as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Yes, any questions? No questions.
No, they will ask. I'm sure.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Amol.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am all. Yeah, Amol.
I want to ask a question that what is exactly the chain learning?
Chain learning.
You mentioned about chain learning. So what exactly it means?
Did I mention about chain learning?
Yeah, you
mentioned
told
about-
something.
Yeah. So for me, when I talk about chain learning, it's just going through the entire process of idea, planning and working and moving ahead. Because sometimes the need for, when you identify a need, I will give you an example of many a times when I feel that this is something is important and the child has to know in the class. When I enter the class, there is something more important, and I have to really reframe my entire learning outcomes and my plan. So chain learning is basically the whole circle of idea, that is IDEA, going back and seeing if there is any corrective measures, and then reframing it and going back to the class again, so that you are able to even meet the every need of the child, which has to which is important for your learning outcomes and your broad goals that has to be achieved. There are many students in the class who are unable to achieve the broad goal, not because we as teachers are ineffective or not. There are various reasons to that. But if we just go back and do a lot of formative assessment with them, we can really help them to even come to a basic level of understanding. Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
questions?
questions? Yeah.
No questions?
So there is improvement from the first session. Today I got more interaction. So the person who takes a session on the last day, yeah, I'm sure all of you have going to have a lot of questions for that person. So I think I just few things I want to mention before we wind the session. It's exactly 6 o'clock, so we should maintain. I know that all of you are sitting at home. You've got responsibilities at work. That is why we had planned these sessions 1.5 hours in the morning and 1.5 hours in the evening, right? So the feedback form for Rennie has been already put, so you can fill it up. Because feedback is very important, because they also like to get feedback so that they can also improve. Everyone is learning, right? So I think feedback morning session we've received, and if those are not finished morning, please do that. And for the evening session, you please finish before tomorrow morning session so that we finish one feedback forms quickly. Thank you, Rennie, and
Thank you so much.
thank you. And can I ask one of the teacher or Vandana ma'am or anyone to say a formal thanks to Rennie? Because instead of me only saying thank you every time, I want more participation. Ma'am, you're muted. I think Vandana ma'am is talking, but I think you're muted. You have to. Yeah. One of you can just. Yeah.
Hello, Rennie ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
On behalf of all the teachers, I would like to thank you. You cleared all the minor details that should be there in a lesson plan. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
In fact, the
Thank you.
demo was very interesting. The actions that you did along with the explanation, that was really like, we would definitely do that way. We will try to do that way, the way you explained.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And also the way you have written your lesson plan, that is more inspiring. Like, we should, next time when we do something like this, we need to prepare ourselves, and we will also,
Yes.
the way you
Yeah.
explained that content knowledge, you should read 2 or 3
Yes.
anything websites, you should go through websites or
Yeah.
anything. So we will definitely take care of that also.
Sure, sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was fun being with all of you.
Thank you
I'm
for
sure that we are having a yes.
Thank you for creating sort of a whiteboard in your house.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I know it is not easy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and see you tomorrow morning. Thank you, teachers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Bye.